Good day, and thank you for tuning in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. For all of our new listeners and viewers who are tuning in for the very first time, I'm Pastor Pope, and thank you for allowing us to come into your viewing environment. We are here with you every Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, broadcasting live from the FijiWater.com sponsored studio, where you can discuss careers, finances, entrepreneurship. You can discuss marriage, divorce, raising children, blending families. You can discuss dating and relationships, whatever's in your heart, whatever's on your mind. God is concerned about that which concerns you. And that is the reason that we are here with you in your listening and viewing environment in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, which is brought to you daily by Fiji Water, Earth's finest water. You may already know the Fiji water comes from Fiji. However, did you know that it is created by nature? It is untouched by man. It starts as a tropical rainfall which slowly filters through layers of volcanic rock, where the water collects in a natural, sustainable artesian aquifer, where it is bottled right at the source, free from human contact until you unscrew the blue cap. Fiji Water, Earth's finest water, will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you'll save money at FijiWater.com. This is not just ordinary water. This is Earth's finest water at FijiWater.com. And for those of you who continue giving on the Give segment of our app at New Life-Delaware, and those of you that have made a weekly or monthly commitment to support the broadcast by giving on the contribution pages of our websites at New Life Ministries International.com and New Life International CDC.com, we thank you for your support. And for those of you who use the QR code or the link provided on Facebook or on YouTube, we thank all of you for your commitment and your support as we fulfill our commitment to God to be here for you in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. So I want to remind all of our listeners and viewers, first of all, I want to thank all of our listeners and viewers for continuing to encourage everyone, family, friends, coworkers, and colleagues, to tune in daily to 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. And I want to say to all of you, we thank all of you for continuing to push the broadcast forward. We have seen such a significant increase in viewership over the years that we have been broadcasting, and we want to thank all of you for being with us consistently. We are here for you so that everyone has a place to go and hear from God to receive daily Divine Direction. And we are Facebook Live, we are YouTube Live at Daily Divine Direction, and you now have the opportunity to stay connected with us throughout the week, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, through our internet radio station, WKAPFaith.com, which is WKAP Faith Empowerment Radio, where we play music 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, that will encourage you, empower you, and inspire you to become the best version of ourselves that we can possibly become. So stay connected at WKAPFaith.com. I'm going to address a communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated you really want to improve your finances. However, you said, what does that look like to you is the question. So you say that you want to improve your finances. Here's the very first thing you have to do. You've got to structure a budget. So let me say this for all of our listeners and viewers, because I don't think that everyone realizes that no matter how much capital you have available to allocate for your life, everyone has a budget. You see, you have to operate with a budget, because that way you know no matter how much income you have coming in, no matter how much revenue you have coming in, no matter how many streams of revenue you have coming in, you're still going to have life expenses. You're still going to have life expenditures. So everyone has a budget. Some budgets are larger than others, but everyone has a budget. You may not have written your budget. You may not understand that you have a budget, but everyone has a budget. So you have to structure that. And then because you want to really get your finances in order and under control, the very first thing you're going to be able to do that is to reduce your entertainment expenses. That is the first thing and the easiest thing to really eliminate or reduce, that will get your budget structure in order. The problem is most people always want entertainment expenses to be at the top of the chart. They want, your mortgage has to be at the top of the chart. If you're a renter, your rent has to be at the top of the chart. If you have a car note, your car note has to follow that. Those are the two largest purchases that most people are ever going to make. Even those who are buying planes and yachts have a budget, because those have to be managed. There's gas expenses, there are insurance expenses. Everyone has some type of budget. The very first thing that you can get your expenses in order is to focus on reducing your entertainment expenditures. The second thing is to eliminate spending creeps. Now, some people call that impulse buying. Those are just part of spending creeps. You can have spending creeps that you're not even aware that you have. And those are the daily things that we do that are not necessities. So you have to really eliminate spending creeps, or certainly reduce them. That will help you to get your budget in order. And then you have to focus on saving and investing. So, the stock market, real estate, etc. You're going to really have to focus on saving money so that you can invest, because that's an accomplishment. That will help you also to structure your budget. That will help you keep your budget within structure and allow you to begin to move forward with your finances in order. Now, having said that, you also want to look at the possibilities of how can you increase your income? How can you develop some additional streams of income? What is of interest to you that might create some additional streams of income? So you've got to look at all of those things. You've got to research and analyze, how can I create more income? And it can be as simple as, listen to this, for those of you who get up every day and go to work and work a job that is an 8-hour job, can you perhaps work some overtime? If you work 40 hours a week and you have basic employment, could you get a part-time job on the weekends? Is there something you can do but for those of you who have careers that you're paid salary, you have to start thinking about, what can I do to generate some additional streams of income? One of those things is saving and investing in the stock market. Because what happens is you're making an investment that you don't then have to touch. You can allow it to grow over time, because over time it will. There's a time value to money. There's also a cost value to money. And you've got to realize that if you're investing, it's appreciating. Whatever you're investing is going to have some appreciation. And over time, it's going to appreciate in the way that you will have capital gains once it's sold. So you've got to just start thinking differently about finances. You've got to start thinking about, your mind has to be on your money. You know that old cliche that you got to have your mind on your money and your money on your mind. You have to be thinking about your finances. You have to be thinking about how you can ensure that you're going to get a return on the investment of your time and your money. How can I get a return on my money and on my time? So let me break that down for you. When you create more than one stream of revenue, you have to find ways to use that, allocate that capital to generate more money. you have to really make a decision that if you're going to spend your time doing anything, it should generate money. The entertainment part of life, for most people, is a continuous process. People like to be entertained. That's the reason they pay entertainers more than they pay educators. I think that's reversed, but that's reality because we live in a free market enterprise. The capitalistic society. So entertainment has a very high value, and it also has a very high cost. So if you're going to spend all your time, all your free time, which is a concern in itself because no time is free. You may have some leisure time, but you are not going to have free time. None of your time should be free. It all should have a price. And you should be looking to get a return on the investment of your time. So when you start thinking about things in that way, you'll find that your finances will begin to have a better picture. The problem is most people spend what they perceive to be free time as time for entertainment. And anytime you focus your time on entertainment, because there's a cost to entertainment, it's going to blow your expense budget. It's going to damage your budget. That's where you have to scale back. You have to dial down or dial back your entertainment expenses. And then you've got to dial back on the spending creeps. So you've got to know what those are. So, I've heard people use this analogy. Let me share this with all of our listeners and viewers. I've heard people say, well, someone who stops at Starbucks every day and gets a cup of coffee, that's a spending creep. That's not a spending creep. That is a budgeted line item. I'm going to stop and get Starbucks today. That's every day, Monday through Friday. They may not go on Saturday and Sunday. That's part of the routine. Nonetheless, they budgeted for that. Whatever their cost is at Starbucks every day, that is part of their budget. That's not a spending creep. Spending creeps are the things that we do and spend money on that we didn't plan for. So that's something that we have to do differently. And the only way to do that differently is to start thinking differently about spending creeps. And we really have to focus on having your mind on your money and your money on your mind. What am I doing with my money? What am I doing to use it to generate more capital? How am I? So watch this. I'll use a personal example. So my wife loves to spend money on our home. She doesn't like spending money on frivolous things, but she likes to spend money on our home. Our home will appreciate over years to come, and that's a good investment. However, you want to make sure that every dollar that you're spending, you get some type of return on that. So you might say, well, the people who were saying, a cup of coffee at Starbucks is a spending creep. That's not a spending creep. That's a line item on the budget. And the reason is because that's what they choose to do as opposed to, making coffee at home because that takes them time. It disrupts their schedule in the morning. So you've got to know what you're doing with your money. So one of the things you want to do is track it. And one of the things that we constantly do, and we've encouraged our children to do, is keep your receipts, maintain your receipts, know where your money's going. And once you get in the habit of that, you really will be in the habit of knowing exactly where your money's being spent. So you can eliminate those spending creeps or impulse buying, as someone else will say. That's a different sector. Impulse buying, it usually comes from marketing and merchandising. Spending creeps are things we know what we want and we'll spend money on it even though it's not necessary. Those are spending creeps. So you've got to look at all these components of life to make certain that we are maximizing the quality of our lives. There's so many variables that go with managing our lifestyle that I could go on and on all day. If you just start with reducing and eliminating some of your entertainment expenses, and you really focus on eliminating spending creeps and focus on saving and investing, you'll be amazed at what you'll be able to accomplish by the end of the year. But first, you've got to draft a budget. You've got to write the vision, make it plain. You've got to write out a budget. If you don't have one, send me another email and I will send you an attachment with a budget on it. Fill out front and back. You will be able to track your income and expenditures. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. So if you're not currently a T-Mobile customer, you may call or text on the T-Mobile call or text line at 267-992-1424. We will move you into our queue so that you may become a T-Mobile customer and experience America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. Taxes and fees are included in your bill, and if you auto pay by attaching a credit card to your account, you will receive a discount on your monthly bill. At T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers. Before I do that, I want to remind everyone that this segment of the broadcast is also brought to you by PorscheAmerica.com. If you are in the market for a new vehicle, a Porsche, one of the finest high-performance automobiles ever manufactured, go to PorscheAmerica.com, where you will have the opportunity to virtually build out the type of Porsche you desire to own. And if you're in our area and you're in the market for a Porsche, one of the finest high-performance automobiles ever manufactured, go to PorscheDelaware.com. Ask to speak to Mike Didio, General Manager, PorscheDelaware.com. He will make certain that someone assists you in purchasing the type of Porsche you desire to own. And if you currently own a Porsche and are in need of service, in the market for service at this time, contact PorscheDelaware.com if you're in our area. They will ask to speak to Mike Adams. They will provide you with an appointment, pick up your vehicle at your home or office, and provide you with the loaner car while you're being serviced, and return your vehicle to you at your home or office when your service has been completed. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated your family is pressuring you to come home and visit more often. However, you did not have a happy childhood, you said. And you said every time you go to visit, your family wants to revisit all the family childhood. And you said that was not pleasant for you, and it triggers some emotional challenges for you that you really don't want to endure. So let me say this to you. I get it when you say you didn't have a happy childhood. None of us get to choose the environment that we are born into or raised in. And if you didn't have a happy childhood and that is causing you anxiety or any form of depression going home to visit, then you've got to pick and choose. They can say all they want that they want you to come home and visit more often, but the reality is, if that is uncomfortable for you, you get to decide. You're an adult. You get to decide when you're going to go and visit, who you're going to go and visit, because if everyone keeps wanting to revisit the childhood, listen, you're an adult now. You don't want to revisit everything because it triggers anxiety for you. So you don't have to do that. The thing is, we have to know what's good for the quality of our lives. We've got to know what allows us to remain in our place of peace, and we've got to know what causes us stress. And you've identified that is going home to visit causes you anxiety and stress. If not, if it doesn't cause you moments of depression, it at least causes you moments of stress. You don't have to endure that stress to please others. You don't have to revisit something that was unpleasant for you just because others want you to revisit it. Just because they want you to feel what they're still experiencing. See, that's really one of the keys that we have to be mindful of. Sometimes the reason family wants you to come around more often is so that you're reminded of what they're still going through. If you're not still going through it, you don't have to put yourself through it. You don't have to place yourself in it. You know what your childhood was like. You know what those memories are like for you. You don't have to be reminded of them. So you choose when you want to go and visit. You choose how often. You get to choose that. You get to make that choice. You get to choose how often you're going to revisit that. Everyone doesn't have the same childhood experiences. Some people had a great and amazing childhood. Some people have had a pleasant childhood. Some people have had a good childhood. And some people did not enjoy their childhood at all. And if you didn't enjoy it, you don't have to torture yourself and go through that. You may go occasionally and visit from time to time. You might call and check on family. That's fine. You can do that. But you don't have to go back into an environment that's going to cause you anxiety or stress. That you walk through your old neighborhood and with your some of your family members and recall all of what you endured as a childhood, that may not be healthy for you. And if it's not healthy for you, we know stress can be a killer. Anxiety will lead to stress or depression. You don't have to do that. You don't have to torment yourself because other people want you to be tormented. Because they're still being tormented. They've done nothing to remove themselves from that environment that has been perfectly content for them. The pain they've learned to live with. They've become numb to the pain. You don't have to revisit that. That is no longer your life. You can call and check in. You can go and visit if you choose to periodically. But you don't have to go back and revisit the same thing over and over again. You know, what that reminds me of is the children of Israel. You know, God told them he would take them to a promised land, a land that flowed with milk and honey. They had the opportunity to go there, and on the journey, they decided to go back to Egypt. Your journey is not there any longer. Stay on your journey. Continue moving forward with your life and enjoy the life that you have built for yourself. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by Charles Tyrwhitt, located in London, the UK. They also have stores in New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and at the King of Prussia Mall in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. So if you're in any of those areas, stop in at their retail stores. They have everything a man could possibly need. And if you're not in any of those areas, you can order from Charles Tyrwhitt at ctshirts.com. They will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. And the White Company, located in London, the UK. They also have stores in New York. They also have a store in New York on Fifth Avenue. If you're in New York, stop in at the retail store. They have everything you could possibly need: home goods, clothing for men, women, and children. And if you're not in New York, you can order from the White Company at thewhitecompany.com. They too will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that your husband is in the public eye. However, the stress is starting to have a negative impact on him. And since this is his career, the only career he's ever had, you said, how do you help him reduce his stress? Well, that's a very good question. So let me expound on this by saying, because this is the only career he's had, he's always been in the public eye, the pressure of that is causing him some stress. But there's also some external forces that are causing him some stress. And those external forces are, family members, not so much his friends, but family. So he's got some additional stress on him now. Your responsibility, first of all, it's important that we recognize and acknowledge you are truly a helpmate. Because a helpmate understands that your responsibility is to prop him up. So often, and I got to go down this path because so often society has taught us that, we got to keep people humble, keep them in check. We've got to do things that are, do or say something that's going to, break them down. Just keep them from getting too full of themselves. And then in addition to that, it's the teaching of society that really sometimes doesn't allow us to do what God has assigned us to do. Because we get caught up in society teaching us other things. Don't express concern. You can't show a weakness. You can't. But this isn't about showing weakness. This is about propping up your spouse. And so what your responsibility will now be is to create a calm environment, to make certain that, and I get it, you have a career also, and you have your own stresses in your career. We all do. We all have, whatever the stresses are, we all have some level of stress in our careers. The reality is that you're managing your stress right now much better than he's able to manage his, because he's in the public eye and now there's some family challenges to deal with. The reason you've noticed this is because this hasn't been the norm. This is not who he is, and it's starting to have a negative impact. But here's what I'm going to say for you. Continue to pray for your husband. Continue to create a calm environment for your husband. The two of you will deal with the family challenges as they arise and as they come. But you've got to create an environment that's going to allow him to be at peace and continue to do his work and continue on in his career. He'll deal with the public scrutiny, because that's part of it too. It's when you're in the public view, someone's always going to have something to say. And most of the time, it's not going to be positive things. It's going to be something negative that they come up with. And now in our technology society that we're living in, everyone feels they have the right to say whatever they want to say. And he's got to deal with that now too. He's got to deal with all the public comments. One thing he's going to have to do is stop paying attention to public comment. Look, we do our job, and we do the best job that we can do, and we be our best and become our best, and we live with the results. Now, that doesn't imply that there's not things we all can do to be better. We're not perfect, but we can be perfected every day. And we have to allow that to occur. We have to be okay and comfortable with that occurring. But the reality is that we can't live our lives or perform in our careers being concerned about what others think if they're not in the position to have an impact on our careers. We have to take it upon ourselves to live within ourselves in that sense and trust God that He that has begun a good work in us will complete the work that He has begun. Today's Daily Divine Direction broadcast 3D has been brought to you by Fiji Water. A taste of paradise will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you'll save money at FijiWater.com. May God bless you today. May God keep His face turned towards you. May God give you peace that surpasses all understanding. Have a great day today. Remember